Hey everybody, it's intuitive energy healer Kathy Weiss here. Welcome to this week's episode of Monday Messages. Before we get started, or as we get started, I'm sitting here and I'm receiving a message and it's coming in right now. So it's going to come out a little bit maybe jerky, and I'm probably going to need to close my eyes from time to time, but so just listen. I hear the sound of wind blowing, and this wind is blowing away leaves. And the leaves were good and they were valuable, and we needed the leaves while they were on this tree. But now they're not necessary, and so they shed away. This layer is being shed, and the wind is clearing it out. And this is really symbolic of our lives. There are times when things were good and necessary, and that season or that time passes, and we no longer need them, whether it's situations or people or careers. There's lots of examples, but we go through a phase or a season where we shed that which we no longer need. And it doesn't mean that it wasn't good and valuable when we were experiencing it. It just means that now that time is over. And what happens is that sometimes we have this image of a tree and it has dropped all its leaves, that we can sometimes think that that is death or decay or the end of all things, because often then a tree lies fallow for some time before new leaves begin to grow and bud. And this again is a really symbolic message that there are times in our lives where we have shed something that no longer is good or valuable or necessary in our lives. And there is a period where things get really still or really quiet, and it appears as though there is no new growth or no new thing coming in to take the place of that which we shed or left behind. And that's where we often, as humans, we start freaking out and we start scrabbling. We're like, oh my gosh, everything's still in quiet. I've shed something old. Nothing new is here yet. And so I've got to start freaking out and forcing things to happen and get upset and why me and all of this kind of stuff. And what we're all being asked to remember is that there is value and there is almost like a necessary requirement to these times in our lives that get really still and where it seems like new growth isn't happening. Because sometimes we just need to lie in that fallow, quiet place for a bit before we're ready for something new. And so if you're just kind of coming into today's video, please go back to the top so that that last little bit that I just said makes sense to you, because a lot of us, I can feel we're moving into a phase where things are going to be very quiet and very still. And it will be our gut reaction to get really frustrated and scared and panicky and start making rash decisions rather than soul-centered decisions or heart-centered decisions. So that being said, if you start freaking out, know that you can reach out to me and we can have a private session where we can sort of uncover what the stillness in your life is about and how you can move forward from your heart with clarity. And I'm inviting people to really get clear for the new year. So different than an intention, which is really common for people to set intentions in their new year. This is much more of like an action plan of how to help you live your heart-centered or soul-centered life. It's completely different than good intentions. This is really about living forward from your soul and having an incredible year based on that rather than on external sort of circumstances. So, okay, now I'm being guided that we can go ahead and get into the regular portion of Monday Messages for you. I'm feeling the need to send out a lot of love. I think there's a little bit of weariness post-Thanksgiving here in the United States, and also what is starting to feel like to me as Black Friday burnout. And I'm going to channel a bonus message for you guys on Wednesday about Black Friday burnout and how discernment comes from disconnection. But for today, I'm still feeling the hot pink love and a little bit of turquoise for you guys, and I don't even know why, and I'm even being told don't explain it, but that those are the colors and energies that are coming out for you. So I have a nice teacup hat full of names of people who shouted out to win a free live intuitive reading today. And know that this is a lot like a mini sampler. It's just a taste of what an intuitive reading is like, and a longer reading is going to provide you with much more information, more details, and more specific action step type guidance for you to follow and move forward. Hey, Lindsay, nice to see you too, sister. Ooh, and I'm excited to hear what you have to say to me whenever. But okay, right now, focus. We always want the right person to come out for the right reason. I'm touching that right person for the right reason today. Jade, girl, you come out a lot. This is really interesting. So I want to say this first of all to other people who put their name in regularly and don't come out often. Number one, don't get frustrated. There's always a reason why somebody's coming out. One of those reasons is alignment. So Jade is like really super in alignment with knowing that I'm going to provide valuable, meaningful messages for her. And Jade is like really committed to following her guidance. And so that is really in alignment. And that makes it more likely that her name is going to come out than maybe someone who is, that's because I need all the help, sister. You're doing so good. You totally don't. But more for comfort for other people. Sometimes you need to learn how to come into alignment that you're worthy of having your name pulled out, that it's possible your name is going to get pulled out, and that you're going to hear something really beneficial when your name is pulled out. And so sometimes we have to work privately for a little bit to bring your vibration up to that place of knowing and believing your worth and your goodness, and that there is good things lining up for you in something like this. So that being said, remember, no matter whose name comes out of my teacup hat, there will be universal messages for everybody sprinkled in here. And that this is also just an example of how readings work. And so to not be discouraged and stop watching, but to stay tuned in and really start to see the value and the benefit that a reading can provide for you. So Jade, I think this is why you came out today. And I think this is going to be really helpful for a lot of people. Because the moment I tuned into your energy, you were sort of like a little bit all over the place today. Oh, and it's interesting because I heard the sound of wind. And if you saw the top of the video, I started off hearing the sound of wind today. As a matter of fact, like right before I started the video, I was a little bit like, I don't know what I'm going to start off with today. I've got nothing. And my guides were like, we're going to take the lead and basically like, tell you. And I channeled like immediately in the moment the video started, and I was channeling the sound of wind. So make sure you go back and hear what that part was all about. Okay, so this is also interesting. So I heard the sound of wind for you, and I also heard the sound of pop rocks, like, you know, the candy, stick it in your mouth, like fizzy and poppy and kind of crazy town. And then I saw the color turquoise. Okay, so there's our turquoise that, again, I was like, I need this, and I don't know why. I see the color turquoise, and I see the color orange. And your energy is really fiery and explosive. Okay, so a little bit like this and this and this and over here and over there and over there. But then again, the wind, which is clearing things out and making some things slow down. But I'm over here and I'm like on fire. Whoa, I'm crazy, right? Not that you're crazy, but like the energy is really frantic. Okay, hear that properly. So what you're being asked to do is slow down and refocus on your purpose. Not focus on purpose, but refocus on your purpose. And then have intention. That you need to get clear before you make the next move. I love how this is all tying together, because I promise you guys, I channeled that whole first bit like in the moment without realizing or knowing who is coming up today. So I feel like it's really important for all of us to take this time to slow down and let things be slow, and to get really clear on your purpose. So as you move into 2019, because we're close enough to the end of 18 to start talking about 19, it's like, what is your purpose in the next year? And then get really clear and intentional about the actions that you take to get there. So I know, Jade, that you have some really clear purposes. But because there are multiple purposes for you right now, it's starting to feel a little bit frantic. And what you're being asked to do is narrow some of that down. So let's say, for example, you have 4 purposes that you're focusing on right now, and that's awesome, and you're capable of that. But for the next little bit of time, you need to pull that in sharper to 1 or 2. And so with the clarity, it's like, which 1 or 2 of these things that you're focusing on right now, which one is the absolute most important? Which one is going to drive you forward from your soul the most? And as you look into 2019, which one is leading you where you are desiring to go in 2019? That could be career, relationships, personal satisfaction, right? Because sometimes in life, what we need to do is focus on the things that bring us joy outside of career and relationships. And other times we need to focus on career or relationships, right? So you're really being asked to take a little bit of time to just stop and journal or meditate or take a really long walk by yourself without music or anything else, and just start to get clear, like, this is the one thing that I need to focus my energy on for the next little bit of time, so that 2019 is the year I'm envisioning. Now, granted, we all get surprises along the way in any year, but when we look at the overall arch of your year, you want to see that you have been really specific and intentional, and that you followed a path that took you from the beginning of the year to the end. And so one of the problems for everyone listening today is that when we set an intention or New Year's resolution around the first of the year, we're already a little bit behind because the year has started without that clarity. So that's why what's coming through for me and for you guys is that we get clear and start to follow our hearts before the first arrives, so that you're already ahead of the game and already on track to that heart-centered and soul-centered life throughout the year, rather than sort of scrabbling and starting like a few paces behind. And I'm hearing that for a lot of you guys, there's like some things like clicking in, and you're like, oh, I'm getting this now. I'm starting to understand and make sense of this information. And I feel like there's one more thing that wants to come through. Just give me a second. Okay, so I'm going to drop back down into almost like channeling in the moment again. And so I'm not quite sure where this is going, but please let your... Okay, I'm just scrolling down and checking out some of the comments real quick, because I feel like that's going to help us. And Jade says, I added one since the last time we talked, and we're going to have to discuss which one we need to focus on. Okay, absolutely, Jade, I'm 100% for you. No wonder why it felt like you're a little bit all over the place. You've got too many things on your plate. And absolutely, I can help you focus in a one-on-one session. That's not what's coming through right now. And what's coming through right now is more for everybody who's listening. So it starts like this. The reason so many of you find yourself at the end of a year with a little bit of, not dissatisfaction, but that's the word that's coming up, a little bit of like, oh, it's over and I didn't quite blah. It's over and it's still all the same. It's over and I still have a sense of nagging unfulfillment, is because you aren't starting with the clarity. And so you're always, again, sort of scrounging for it and reacting to your emotions and feelings rather than planning and being really actionable and deliberate about it. Okay, and so all of us, as we're moving into this next new year, we're all being asked to start off the year really clear about where our heart is leading us, and then have the courage to take the action steps to follow that, even if it's convoluted, even if there are times when it seems like nothing's happening or everything is completely still. There's more information about that at the top of the video if you missed it. So I'm hearing that what that stuff that came through right at the top is like a really great metaphor and a beautiful image for you guys to go back and watch. So don't hang up on me yet. but go back after we're done and check that out. Um, okay, today's message is complete, is what I'm hearing. There's a lot of good stuff in there. And again, I'm feeling really strongly urged, I don't know, encouraged to encourage many of you to really start to consider looking at your new year now rather than after the holidays. Okay. And if you don't know how to do that, absolutely reach out and ask me. So if you read today's blurb on Facebook or not, as a clairvoyant, I did not know this, but I guess it is unusual for clairvoyants to be able to channel messages for themselves, but they often channel messages for other people. However, I have been channeling messages for myself for several years now, and channeled messages for myself long before I channeled messages for anyone else. And one of the messages that came through for me today was that it's my job to make miracles in other people's lives, not my own life. And so, like, let's start making those miracles happen. And the way that I do that for you is just like what I did for Jade. I start to hear and listen what needs to come through, and then I guide you and give you some action steps to move you forward. Jade didn't get action steps today because, like she said, she and I are going to have to really sit down and discuss that together, which we can't do over here on a live Facebook video. But know that when Jade and I talk, she's going to walk away with, I need to do A, B, and C in order to move forward from where I am right now. And the same can happen for you. And so all you have to do is comment or shoot me a private message or visit my website, which is Kathy-Weiss.com. And then otherwise, I'm going to see you on Wednesday to talk about Black Friday burnout. Oh my gosh. And how discernment comes from from disconnection. Discernment comes from disconnection. And it's going to be a good one and a valuable and a necessary one. So I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in, whether you watched live or later. And I will see you again next Monday for another free live intuitive reading. You guys are awesome, and I love you. Namaste. Now I get to say bye twice because I got to press end, and I have to press end twice. So see you again next week. Bye.